Hello, Damien here. I'm at the H.J. Chomon complex, up the side of a mountain. I have a little view of the lake down there, and up this way there's a road covered in snow. You can go all the way up into the woods. It's so peaceful here, and I chose this spot to share a message with our blessed families and blessed children who are in the process of getting ready for the blessing. And so I want to convey some words, I guess, of encouragement and perhaps also some clarification, not about the practical things, because I know there's many practical steps, but more about the, I guess, relationship and process. My wife would have me start with the conclusion. The conclusion is there's an amazing blessing upon us. Barely 60 days as of the recording of this video. April 12, 2025. And Mother is hoping for blessed children from all over the world to attend in person. But to get to that point, there's so many things that need to happen. And so about a year ago, or a little over a year ago, when I was discussing with the BFM, how many candidates do we have? How many eligible blessed children do we have of marriageable age? Eligible just basically meaning blessed children who's single, okay? And actually, it took us like 3.5 months to find out how many second-gen unmarried, over 18, let's say. And the number we got to so far was about 4,100 in America, 4,100. And after we had compiled that information, we set out to contact all of them, the parents, the children, and we were able to reach roughly 3,600. And among those, roughly speaking, 1/3 said that they're not interested. 1/3 said that they're not ready, and 1/3 said interested. And among this 1/3 that's interested, there's also many categories of people, like those who are interested but have no idea where to begin, and maybe all the way through to those who are already actively in the process, right? So I'm just telling you the picture that we found ourselves working with. Because honestly, I don't like the idea from the church side setting some goal for, how many people we're going to bring to the blessing, because it's such a personal, eternal, deep thing within the realm of the family. But at the same time, the reason I set a goal was because let me set a big goal such that it will force us to really look at the situation. And what we found was, I should apologize, representing the church. I think we haven't really necessarily been doing such a good job over the last 20, 30 years since True Parents asked the parents to lead their own children to the blessing. For those of you that don't know, what happened was very early on, families started to try and bless their kids, and without any clear guideline and without any experience or knowledge of how to do it, sort of trial and error, and many things went wrong early on. And in response to those challenges, the Blessed Family Ministry started to compile guidelines and support systems. But I think that very early on, what was missing was also including the pastor and the pastor's wife in that process, because really, it's all within the realm of the blessed family. As parents, those of you who are watching, it's all within your realm of blessing, freedom, and responsibility. But I know as a parent, what can be challenging is, number one, kind of the rules, the regs, the red tape, the process. It can be a little bit confusing. But also the pool, like where do I go? Who do I know who's available? All these types of things have been challenging. And often the pastors have been in some sense bypassed. By strengthening the blessed family department, we sometimes bypass the ownership and the sanctity and the importance of the pastoral role, the pastor's couple who knows, the situation of the blessed families more closely, and also who is in a position to coordinate with other pastors around the country and kind of widen the pool, so to speak. I mean, who's available, right? So this is just, I'm telling you from the, kind of like the church leader's point of view of the terrain, and what I have noticed, many challenges that we have allowed, many problems, honestly, that we have allowed to exist for a long time without really addressing the root issues. And from that point of view, I just want to say, for what it's worth, I'm sorry that it's been so hard. Recently, I've been telling church leaders, I've been saying, you know what? If our children have made it to the blessing until now, it's a miracle, because it seems like there's so many things working against them. And in some sense, even the church or the structure or the system has been working against us, right? So, it took us 3.5 months in America just to find out how many are out there, and then to contact them all another 3.5 months. So it's taken some time to get to this point. For those of you wondering, I think in America now we're up to about 180 or 190 second generation who are matched and ready for this blessing. And I really want all of you to come to Korea. This is the place to be. Apart from anything with regard to either health or visa issues or really extreme circumstances, finances is not enough reason. We got to figure out whatever it takes to come here and be here with Mother for this blessing, first of all. But, the goal was to have 1,000 couples. Ridiculous goal. But nonetheless, it's forced me to discover all the ways in which we need to do better. And we're working on that, but it takes so much time, right? So I think we have about 190 or so who are matched and ready for this blessing. Congratulations. We have, last time I checked, at least another 130 second generation in conversation, and something like 460 who want to be in a conversation, but haven't yet, found someone, or the first conversation maybe didn't work out or something like this. And maybe still a few others who, could be brought into the process. But we only have 60 days left, right? Just over 60 days left. So what am I sharing in this video? I just really want to encourage you all and thank you all. And more than anything, encourage you to pay attention to how God is working in your life for this thing. Whether you are a parent or a child, whether you're a husband or a wife, father or mother, or whether you're a young brother or a young sister, whether you've been around the block already or whether you're just reaching this for the first time, I just want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to take whatever that next step is with God. One of the biggest, listen to me here, one of the biggest challenges we have found, and it even existed in my own family, I'm saying even, it existed in my family also, was a lack of communication about the blessing between parents and children, between father and mother and parents and children. in my case, I've had many conversations with my children over the years, several, but they were conversations that, I found an opportunity, maybe just me and my son or me and my daughter having a conversation. But it wasn't with both parents in prayer about that specific thing, like a purposeful conversation. I realized over the last 6 months that my family, we've grown so much because we've been kind of forced into this dynamic of actually having to talk about it and pray about it together. And we've learned so much and we've grown so much. And so that's why several months ago I asked the pastors, please encourage the parents. I asked the parents also, please just set up like a week, do it daily, but have at least a weekly conversation between parents and children. I think that's been one of the big blocks, just communication. Yes, there's a bunch of hoops and a bunch of stuff that you've got to do in terms of the application and all of that. And by the way, I directed a year ago to the BFM, please reduce all the steps to be the simplest that they can be. And even though they've simplified it a lot, still for next year, I want to see whatever we can do to simplify it further. Because it's not BFM's job or the church's job to make it harder for you or to make them more, but simply what's our job to be able to support you, to encourage you, and to give you the tools and resources you need to be able to plug in. But oftentimes, honestly, I have to say, we make it look all much more complicated than it really needs to be. And I'm sure much more complicated than true parents ever imagined church leaders make it be, So that's why I'm just sending you this message, especially for parents of children who are of marriageable age and second gen, third gen who are thinking about or planning for the blessing. Maybe many of you now think that there's no time. I just want to suggest, don't be pressured, right? Don't feel like pressured either by the church or by parents or by siblings, like unnatural pressure I'm talking about. Sometimes we will need a little shove, right? We need a push. But this is really your choice. And I was talking with my daughter earlier about this, and I was walking up here surrounded by this snow, and I was thinking about wintertime. Wintertime is a quiet time, right? It's a still time. Most of the animals and the insects, you can't hear them during the winter. Apart from the blizzards and snowstorms that come through, it's a very quiet time. And you have this snow blanketing over everything, right? Everything's still. But underneath the snow, underneath the cold, hard ground, there are seeds germinating. There are bulbs, flower bulbs, preparing to sprout. And at some point, somewhere between the seasons as they shift, there's one flower. Mother always talks about the daffodil, right? There's one flower that will sprout, come breaking through the earth before the others. Somehow it knows its time. It knows its time. And it's almost as if that one flower coming through gives encouragement to the second and the third. And before you know it, almost as if from one day to the next, a whole flower garden is blossoming. The trees turning green. The birds and the insects coming back to play, to roam and play and sing. And all of a sudden, spring is upon us. Somehow, when I was talking with Hannah, I was thinking about this as an analogy for our own internal mind knowing when it's time. In terms of the blessing, you must be thinking like, first, who is it? And if it's that person, is that the right person? Is he or she the right person? Am I ready? Am I the right person? Am I too young? Am I too old? I just really encourage you to pray. I encourage you to go into the Chonshimwan or the prayer hall, or go out for a walk into nature, wherever you find peace, and pray. Pray by yourself. Definitely pray and discuss with your family, but ultimately, it's going to be your choice, those of you who go to the blessing, who you marry and when you marry. But I'm sure there'll always be a little bit of wonder and mystery and questions and doubts. I'm sure as those flowers pry through the winter soil to mark the beginning of spring, it's not easy, and they're working their way through, but they make it through. I just want you to know there's nothing more natural than marrying. You know, we've got birth, marriage, and death. These are the three major events in every human life. And there's really only one of them that you can truly choose, marriage. And so don't you think it's worthy of more of our attention and our prayer? Don't you think between parents and children we should be having more open dialogue and discussion about it? So parents, you know, often the parents are a bit of a problem too, guys, right? So like the parents aren't necessarily in agreement, or sometimes as parents we're still working through our stuff, or we're reacting to how we got married and who we got married to, and we're still trying to work our stuff out. That's why it's really important to root everything in prayer and a little bit of surrender. And the way I feel about this, the feeling I have as a father, let's say around Hannah as my daughter, right? I imagine her as one of those spring bulbs working her way through the soil. Is she ready? Is she too young? Should it be later? Should it be now? 2025 is the big one. Is that the best? Is there going to be another one? Or is this the only big one? All these things. I tell you, 2025 is, yes, it's a big one. It's the big one. But the point is, not according to all these things, not according to the church goal or the strategy of our church leader, but rather as a father, I'm looking and watching. Is Hannah sprouting through? Is she coming through the soil? Is a little stem, a little, what is it, a leaf or a little flower petal just breaking through? And my job, what I feel is like I'm here protecting, like just watching, not stamping on it, not pushing it back down, not pulling it out, but just, okay, if it's coming, let me, you know, how are you? And like, let's see. And I almost see my hands around it a little bit. If there's a strong cold wind coming in too sharp, maybe I might just protect it from the wind a little bit, because after all, it's not a flower, it's my daughter. But that kind of picture comes to mind as I converse and pray with my own daughter about this. So yes, yeah, I'm the church president right now, and I've given all of the pastors this big goal to reach all of the single people and see what you can do to help them. But here's the thing, we've not helped you enough. We've not been in communication enough. We've not necessarily made it the content of enough sermons. We've not made it the content of enough get-togethers and workshops and hangouts. Maybe the parents, we need to come together more just to listen to each other's story, to how we can help one another more, right? Not just the matching convocation where everybody's kind of like by the book, and not the corporate approach. The corporation, the organization has a function to serve and support, create the environment, but guys, it's up to us, right? It's up to us. And the most important people is the family, the parents, and then the next level is really the pastor who knows you and who can maybe help you. So I've really asked our pastors and our pastors' wives to do what they can to reach out to each one of you, just to find out, what do you need? Not to push, not to pull, but to facilitate anything that's needed. And if all your family can do this year is start the conversation, then let it be so. And adjust the culture so that you can be ready to really support your children next year. And for those of you that are on the fence, and just go into prayer. But I really encourage you, like Mother is really encouraged by every family that can help their children understand the incredible rich value of the blessing and just to receive it. God wants to give you this blessing. God wants to bring his children together. And oftentimes it's just us making it really complicated. Like, oh, is it like this? Is it like that? Or is it going to be like this or like that? I don't think God is that complicated. I don't think true parents are that complicated. Please really pray. Please open and listen in that moment of silence. Is it time to sprout? Are we a part of this spring season? And let me know what I can do to help. Let your pastor know what they can do to help. And in my case, yeah, it looks like Timothy's made up his mind and he's found someone and he's just made his commitment ceremony. And now I'm wondering, about my next child, like what's happening. But it's not because pushing. We've been just having prayers and honest conversations. Sometimes the conversations are really funny. Sometimes they're scary. Sometimes they're conversations that, we probably shouldn't have said this that way or this way. We have to really grow a lot. And most of our growth is about getting out of the way. Just like this snow, which will eventually make way for the beautiful spring bulbs, spring flowers, and spring season. I hope this message was helpful. If it's not helpful, don't worry about it. You know what to do. If it is helpful, then good. I've been able to, respond to some sense of what I feel God wanting to convey. But I do feel God really loves us all and wants us to come to the banquet, to be blessed, to expand our family, and to spread the pure water generation across the world for all to see. Let's enjoy it. God bless you.